Guys, welcome to the Healthy Profit Podcast. Today I've got Christy Haussler on. You guys know how much I talk about her, not only just in life in general, but she has made it. You've graced the show many times as we've talked about scaling and monetizing. So, Christy, thanks for being here. I
Thanks
don't
for
need to go.
me.
Yeah, I will tell you. I'll tell you guys all about the accolades later, but I always want you guys to get to the meat of the juice right now, or the juice of the meat, whatever that is. Christy, thank you for being here. What's going on in the world of podcasting? Why should somebody start a damn show right now? Still, after all these years, what's the deal? Should we do it? Should we do it?
Yeah, certain people probably should. Certain people probably shouldn't. And I think knowing the difference is the key factor there. There's good news is there's plenty of room in the space. And I was doing a short, you were talking about my social media just a minute ago, and I was doing a short the other day, and it was like the one key factor that will help you outlast your competition. And it was simply that whole almost like survivor thing of like outlast them, because everyone pod fades. And so if you just outlast them, then it will be like you'll be the category king because no one else will be producing content. So that's the name of the game, is get in it and stay in it.
You are actually one of the people that really talked about being the category king. And that is something that I really have derived from you over the years, is the category king. And we understand that on the macro level, but how do you help people become a category of one or a category king?
Yeah. So one of the things that in podcasting we end up doing to do this is it's sub-niching. If you look at the sort of like a podcasting perspective and even podcasting vernacular, we always have the riches are in the niches, but many times it's the sub-niches. And so what I do with my clients is I start with not what do you know, right? Because we know they're, functional medicine experts, they're, medical doctors, they're whatever, but it's not about what they know and what they can talk about. But what I talk to try to get to them is who is it that you work with best? Talk to me about that person that you can get the biggest transformations with. And it's more about, it goes beyond demographics. It's more of like also some psychographics involved, because it might be that it is a mom, and it is a mom of toddlers or a mom of teens, or, you know what I mean? There's these subcategories, or you also have to look at where people are in their journey. Maybe it's a beginning health coach, or it's of someone who's taken their business to $5 million a year. And they're like, I'm so burned out. I can't do this one-on-one anymore. How can I build a one-to-many platform? You can do that by podcasting, but where are they on their journey? So getting really clear on who you help the best. And I always say, leverage all the data points that you can. So if I'm a middle-aged, gay, Black woman, then the more content I can also create for that potentially middle-aged, gay woman, Black, then that there's probably not anyone else creating content for that specific person. And you might say, but then you limit your market. You do, but you become the only person that market goes to for advice because you're talking specifically to them. And the problems of a white person versus a Black person, a male versus a female, a mom versus a non-mom, a gay person versus a non-gay, a transgender person. I mean, you've got all of these things. You think about how we can slice it so many different ways. So if there's that one person that you get the best results for, you've got products for, you can create content for, then there's your podcast. And that's who you're going to create podcast content specifically for them. Doesn't mean other people can't listen, but you're speaking from their frame and with their paradigm, coloring everything that you do for the podcast.
So good. And I think that was actually answering my question I had. There's a difference between demographics and psychographics, right? And I think you really
there is. And those demographics.
And what is a psychographic, if I could stop?
So I like to say it this way. A lot of times demographics are things that we can see or they're obvious. So where you live, I'm like a Southern woman. I'm a middle-aged woman. I'm a chubby woman. I'm a, whatever. You can see those things. That's your demographic. But the psychographics are more of like the mindset things, like women struggling with confidence, maybe even abused women, or maybe even narcissistic men. You know what I mean? They're more of like where that headspace is and
Got it.
where they are on that journey. So I think about it's like the visible versus the invisible. And many times those psychographics can come out, like a lot of times in women, we see it with confidence, that people will do shows about confidence or empowerment or things like that. And it's drawing that person, any woman that needs confidence. But if you can narrow it down and add specific demographics, layering it on top of that, you can create a show specifically for your ideal avatar and then have a much higher conversion rate because the main people you're attracting are that exact same person. And then you're just leading. If they like your headline and they like your title of your podcast, they're going to love your content because you're creating your content for them. They're going to love what you have to sell them and your marketing. So it just all lines up. There's a through line all the way through that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for the definitions too between that, because I know a lot of times people get so hung up on who do I serve? How do I even find them? And I think demographics is such a broad thing. What you really need to look at is the psychographics, because ultimately a successful show in any space or a successful piece of content is going to help somebody make a transformation.
And the weird thing about podcasting is that I have found that about 90% of my clients are their own avatar. So if you aren't sure who your avatar is, look within yourself most of the time. Many people, like even like a lot of the functional medicine practitioners that I work with, they got to functional medicine because of their own health journey. You know what I mean? So if they struggled with thyroid issues or they struggled with Lyme disease or whatever else, like that led them there. And so those are things that look to yourself, because you're probably going to be 90% chance you'll be your own avatar.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good point. I was like, my avatar is this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that was me 5 years ago. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. I was the spaz I was 5 years ago, right?
Oh, my God, was I a
You're not
spaz?
there anymore. So
I know. I was a failing podcast production company. I was like, what are we doing? We need to teach people how to make money. And that's what's great about, ever since I've met you, some of the things I've heard from you is that you have constantly been teaching yourself stuff. You're always in a mastermind. You're always speaking.
Yes, I
always
am.
asking
I'm one of
questions.
those lifelong learners. Like, I don't do anything for fun or pleasure. It's what books are you reading? It's like, here's all the things I'm working on. What YouTube channels do you watch? Here's the podcasts I'm listening to. It's like all of it's to learn, learn, learn. So my brain is a mush of useless knowledge. We're going to try to extract value from.
There we go. Right. Was there like a unique time that you just started turning into podcasting? Like what was that started your journey? I always wondered about that.
Yeah. The weird thing was, like, my first job in, like, when I was 14 years old, I'm from a very, very conservative Christian background. And so we had a Christian radio station with our church, and I went to Christian schools and stuff like that. So my first job was a part-time radio announcer in the Christian radio station. And so I would work we would go off the air at like 10 o'clock at night and back on the air at 5 o'clock in the morning. So in the evenings, I was on from like after school till 10 o'clock at night. On the weekends, I was opening up from 5 in the morning till working till the afternoon. And so I always had this thing for radio. I mean, it was fun. We got to play around with all the real stuff and the real equipment and all the big Segway machines and all kind of crazy automation machines and all this kind of crazy stuff that we would have. But that sort of, I'm not a full blown audiophile by any means, but that sort of planted that little seed. And it wasn't until I started kind of after the last downturn, that 2008, 2009, I started a job where I had to drive 2 hours each way to go to work.
Oh, man.
And it was a boring 2 hours. So I checked out every CD book in the library that they had, and I listened. It was interesting to me. And I would listen to them. And then I would like go back the next week and check them out again. And some of them I'd be like, oh crap, I've already checked this out. I didn't like this one, whatever. And so I started looking for other ways to fill because if I could keep my mind occupied, I didn't fall asleep. It was a quick drive. It wasn't boring, that whole thing. You get lost in that world. And so that's when I found podcasts. That was again about 2010, 2011. And I started listening to podcasts. And at that time, I started hearing John Lee Dumas because he was the only one that was producing enough content for a super consumer like me. I mean, Pat Flynn, maybe once every 2 months, he'd put out a podcast, and the Fizzle guys or whatever were putting out a few shows, but there wasn't many that were in this business realm that were putting it out. And so
he was
that's kind of where, he was every day. But again, even every day, once I caught up, wasn't enough for me because I had 4 hours of drive time to fill. So I started thinking about like all of the local businesses that I had seen go under. It's like I took my guitar to like my favorite guitar store to do some adjustments on it. And like they're closed, like the doors are locked and during the middle. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they closed down. And number one, I can't believe we didn't notice it. And what happened to them? Did they lose their house? Did they lose how bad was this for their family for them to lose this business? And I started thinking about it in terms of local businesses and the impact that we as consumers could have on local businesses. And I was like, I've got to start a local business podcast. So that's what I did. I started because I wanted to be able to, and it was so stupid back then. You know how you look back and you only know what you know at the time, right? And I would have like Google alerts set so that every local business that like opening a second location or doing this, that, or anything that would trend on Google alerts would come into me. And then I would reach out no matter where they were in the country. And I would say, hey, I've got this podcast about local business and I want to bring you on. And they would always say, how much does it cost? And so, of course, I was stupid. And I'm like, it doesn't cost anything, you know? I should have been like, here's my whole marketing package and here's the price and here's how I didn't know what I didn't know. So, yeah. So that was kind of my experience so funny. With that.
You are such a sweetheart too. I can see you being like, it's great. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. We just want to provide value. Yeah, we did. I wanted to provide value. But now I could have done so many other things with that.
Yeah. Did you save any businesses?
You know, we talked to a lot of business owners that were coming out of that, like they had just survived. And now it was like, 2 years later, they're opening a second location. And so we were able to share some of their takeaways. And I'm sure it helped people. You know, I probably wasn't the greatest example of a podcast that ever lived. But again, you do what you do and you know what you know when you know it. So, but I think about it now and I'm like, I should have created a local business mastermind. I should have created, tools and resources. I should have shown them how to create their podcast. Like, many missed opportunities with that. But it was how I got my foot in the door. And it was something I was passionate about at the time. So I'm still passionate about it, but it was fun.
Yeah. I think that's what's great about podcasts in general. I always tell people, they're like, I just love the idea of leaving a legacy. I'm like, that's exactly why you do this. If you do it right, you build a beautiful legacy as a story.
Absolutely.
I guess, and it's a good segue too to one of the questions I had, because this is a challenging space. And if you don't do it right, and in an industry that's like quickly evolving, what's a common piece of advice regarding podcast monetization that you either somewhat disagree with or feel is outdated? Because a lot of people are doing this wrong.
So Sam, I'm going to tell you, I have this, and this is going to seem like the most sexist or reverse sexist thing to say, but I have to understand my heart, right, when I say this, but I have this word that I call podsplaining. And so every time you go in these Facebook groups, it's like mansplaining, but about podcasts, right? So I always say, oh my gosh, so-and-so had to podsplain to me this, that, and the other, right? So what I see so often is that people go into and use the Facebook groups on podcasting and different ones, for different reasons. And they're just thinking about an idea or starting their podcast and they mention the word monetization or how to make money from it. And immediately they just get shamed and bombarded with, it's too early for you to worry about money. You build your platform first. You pay your dues. You just get your content out there. You do all this stuff. And I think about it like this. We would never say to somebody, hey, I want to start a local business and I'm not really sure what I should start it out. No one says, just go rent a space and just open up and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, stupidest advice I've ever heard. So that whole mantra of just get started and worry about monetization later, I'm like, complete BS. It's not an if you build it, they will come thing. But you honestly, the more you're thinking about monetizing your podcast before you start creating your first piece of content, the more you can engineer that and know exactly what lever you're pulling when to get monetization coming in. And so then it's not I hope I can monetize this. I think if it really takes off and blah, 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 it's like, no, we know exactly how we're going to monetize. We just have to do this first, this second, this third, and then it starts coming. And it's never, like you put out the first podcast and with no audience and no platform, you have 1 million views. It doesn't work that way. So that I would love to go toe to toe with any of those people that want to crucify or shame people for thinking about monetization when they start. That is the best time to think about it. Before you spend a dime on it, know exactly how you're going to get an ROI on every dime you spend. So that tells me that we have a long way to go as an industry when that pervasive voice is sort of the climate of monetization with podcasting. And people are, that's not why we do podcasting. We don't do that. We do it for the art of podcasting or for the love of whatever conversation or connection or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, you'll do that for about 2 months. And then you get to episode 7, like Libsyn says, and then you'll fall away. Right. So
fall away. Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you for saying that. I think I definitely got chastised for that. People are like, you're just in it for money? And I was like, I'm in it for a good reason, but I got to tell you, if you don't look at this first, because I agree.
It's a value exchange. It's a value exchange. If you're giving out value and you're putting out that into the world, like it becomes a moral imperative for you to monetize or you can't continue with that mission. So the more you want to talk about the value and the heart-centered entrepreneur and all those things, like understand that comes with a weight. And that comes with a weight of doesn't excuse you from, you can be a heart-centered and value-based entrepreneur, but you've still got to support it at the end of the day. And so that's when I just want to say, don't use those things as an excuse, because we should be talking about monetization. We should be telling people to pump the brakes. If they don't have anything to sell to somebody, it's not the time to start a podcast yet. 100%. Wait till you go create your thing to sell, your program, your whatever. And then once you have something, now let's go create a podcast and then bring all the people in that can be perfect for that thing you want to sell.
I love that. Is that kind of your philosophy? I think one of my questions too that I had for you is, you work with the titans in the industry. You work with some of my favorite people in the health and wellness space. Yeah,
I know. I love my clients. I have some of the best ones. They're so amazing.
They're so good, and they love you. They just absolutely love what you've done for them. You make them, you make them look amazing, sound amazing, but you also make them a buttload of money. And
making money. That's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed a through line with a lot of the big people that you work with? Is there, and I say a through line in the challenge that they run into, any challenges that you notice is common with them?
Yeah, and it's common with them, but it's also very common with just the average Joe podcaster. And it's crazy for me to say this, but in a lot of ways, even though it's your podcast, it's your platform, it's your content, it's your guest, it's your whatever, they feel badly about taking up any space on their show to either, I don't want to say challenge a guest or whatever, but there's a certain shows that you're the expert too, and you need to take up as much space as the guest is. And y'all need to talk about some real, I don't want to say controversial things, but let's talk about the devil's advocate and this, that, and the other. But they're also afraid to take any of that podcast time to actually pitch anything. And they feel badly. They feel like, my audience is going to think I'm just here for the money. They're going to think I'm some slick salesy person, and I'm not really salesy anyway. And I don't really like marketing, but you like money. You got to feed the family. You like being able to live a normal, comfortable life, right? You're not in the van down by the river doing your medicine, right? So you have obligations. And so many times it's really my job is to give them permission to say, it is your platform. You need to take up more space than your guest does. And at the same time, you need to build in room for you to pitch things and to talk to your audience so that you're able to explain to them why the next logical step is this program or this supplement or this whatever you have. Doesn't mean everyone's going to take you up on it. Not for everyone, but you'll have a good many people that will if you take the time to do that. But I feel like it's really prevalent, obviously, with YouTube and video where it's like, don't waste a single half second. You got to just keep something moving all the time. But with podcasting, it's a little different. People are driving in their cars. They're going to work and they're at the gym and they know they got to be on the treadmill for 45 minutes and somebody's going to be in their ear. Right. So it might as well be you. So I just think giving them the challenge is giving them a framework and permission to take up space on their own platform and actually pitch the things that will create that value exchange.
Oh, that's such great advice. Thank you for that. I know I lost a couple shows a year or two ago because the host, she was awesome. She was a great doctor, but she just kept letting people outshine her the whole time. She couldn't make any money because they would just pitch their own thing. And, a 10% affiliate on something is not going to keep the show floating. I was like, oh
no, it's not. And to be honest, most of the time, you're not even doing it. Guests on the show aren't even an affiliate many times. So it's a shame. I've seen it a lot. And honestly, Sammy, this is one of the reasons why I don't encourage my people to do a lot of guesting not guesting as being a guest, but I don't encourage them to have a lot of guest interviews because many of them need to establish themselves as the expert first through solo 100%. Shows. And then I say, like, there's 3 reasons to have a guest on the show. Either there's someone you want to network with, right? So you want to be like, hey, I have a podcast and maybe you have a podcast too. I could be on it, but maybe we also have some joint JV stuff we could do together. Or it's someone that's been through your program and seen a transformation and they can sort of, you're talking to them about their journey and what they learned, but it's also a low-key testimonial for you, Totally. And then the other reason is, it again has to do with networking and that sort of thing. And it's many times it's people that you want to be able to make a connection with, knowing they're above you or they're like a little further down the line. And you just sort of want to get in the good graces with them and say, I'd like to promote you to my audience. They'll remember you for that. And as you come along, hopefully they'll help bring you up as well. So those are kind of my criteria.
That's what we're doing here right now. Hello.
Come on, Sammy, let's go.
Come on. Let it come with you, Christy. I'm hitching onto your wagon. Oh, man. Do you feel that in the next 5 years, do you have any, we've got this new technology. We've got Apple goggles. We've got much more tech that is going to really make podcasting and the medium of content really interesting. What do you think is going to happen in the next 5 years? I want to talk tech, and then I was thinking of your ideas on using some of the new AI tools and things just briefly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But we could probably do another episode
tech,
on that.
Yeah. So tech is a really cool thing. And the fact that we now have automations and things that are even creating resources for your communities. And just the fact that you can create your own GPT just with all your stuff. So totally. It's only so you're asking and you don't have to worry about, well, what if it gives me an answer I don't agree with? Well, it's your own stuff, right? It's your own YouTube channel. It's your own website. It's your own book that it's pulling from. So it's going to be your answer. So we've eliminated that as a problem, right?
Yeah.
But one of the trends that, and this is apart from tech, but it kind of does include tech as well, is I feel like people are, even though we've got this backlash because everything has turned into a subscription these days, from, Amazon reorders to a coffee club of the month or, whatever it is, everything is a subscription, streaming platforms and all that. But I feel like there is going to be more of a push for communities and for people to build communities. And I have seen a lot of my clients try to do this in a free way, and it really hardly ever works in a free way because no one's invested and no one has any expectations. And so they just don't participate. And now you got a Facebook group you're having to support and you're like, why aren't these people responding to my posts? And it's like, because Facebook isn't showing them your post, So that's just that platform, right? But I feel like there's going to be more community driven stuff and people wanting to get closer to that, big person that is in their industry that they want to learn more of. And so being that they can build paid communities where they can have limited access or even more access depending on the tiers. And that's something that we're working with our clients on too, is just building out those. When you have a business model that has recurring revenue built into it, you have a lot better. Number one, you actually have a business, right? Month to month with a little bit of variation or churn rate calculated in what your revenue is going to be, right? So you can build, financial models, and you can plan for growth, and you can plan for hiring, and you kind of know what you're going to be. And then all at the same time, you also know that you're still going to be building that community every month. So then, your growth out exceeds your churn, and you continue with this, sort of big ball of money that happens at subscriptions every single month that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger month over month. So it might start out at $1,000 the first month you do it, but 12 months from now, it's $10,000 a month. And 2 years from now, it's $20,000 a month. And before you know it, you're like, okay, this is completely sustainable. Making a nice living just from the communities. And so I feel like there's going to be more for that. And the tech tools that we have right now, ClickFunnels has a new platform 2.0, which has incorporated memberships, school. Alex Hormozy just made a huge investment in school. There are some amazing communities that have taken off on school, and it's because it's a super easy platform, but they've also added gamification in there. And I don't know if you know much about school or whatever, but the community I'm building, I'm putting on now, even though I'm a diehard ClickFunnels person, but I'm putting it on school because it's a gamification. And essentially what it has built into it is there are leaderboards, but it's not just like leaderboards like, oh, so-and-so is the participant of the month kind of thing. It's like you've achieved level 1. So now that's unlocked for you more benefits, right? So now you get access to some advanced level. Oh, you're a level 2, and it gives you up to 9 different levels that you can use inside your communities to get people to pay attention to engaging. And then by the time you go up the tier, you've just unlocked more and more bonuses and more content, more and more potentially one-on-one time with the person who's the host of the community. And those become the really VIP people that are in that community. And so it does something for communities that Facebook and all these, even like with Mighty Networks and Circle, like I've had and been on communities with all of them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those platforms, but I think there's some things that are missing that are keeping people there and engaged. And I love just the structure of that. So I think the tech tools are getting there, and even the AI tools with being able to create those additional things that we want to give to people and help lead people along our way in our frameworks and the teachings that we do, but then also having that community space where you all have an identity and you're all focused on the same thing, and you can pick out people in the community that are further ahead of you because they're a level 7 badge and you're a level 5 badge. And so it's like, wait a minute. So you begin utilizing that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm heading with my clients. And I think the industry is heading there. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're still going to have a ton of low quality automated podcasts that come out that are going to be AI generated content. And I think we'll also still see the platforms trying to do a lot to minimize their reach. You know what I mean? If it's low effort and low quality, but I don't say that to say I completely am bought into the AI stuff. Use it as often as possible. Use it just to streamline workflows and create things. And, it's an amazing tool that we have. It's kind of, crazy to think we live in like this moment in time with this technology. Like, 2 years ago, it wasn't even here. And now everything we did 2 years ago, it like takes so much less time, and it's so much better, and it's getting better by the day. It's getting better by the day, so.
I love the gamification of things. We produce Mind Valley's show, and one of the things that they do so well with their audience is gamify the courses that they do, right? You get a badge, you get this, I think the retention, and like, I'm not even as somebody that's a CEO, I don't have time to go through courses, but I find myself going through anyone that like, oh, I just got a little dopamine hit from winning that. Of course I'm going to do this again. So I love the idea of that. And I think you alluded to that. I was just wondering for future, your future gaze into the next few years that you just answered is that real touch. And I think you absolutely mean it. The communities, the ability to get to us, and the ability to talk to those people. That's why Clubhouse blew up, right? You're like, oh my God. So-and-so's in this group with me. This
pop
is incredible.
in. Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome. How about
But I feel like the more
the
more we get used to the community, the more we're going to get used to that connection. And then we sort of form these little tribes. And so it's hard to break in after you, form your little community. So get people hooked into your community. So
Yeah, absolutely. With what you guys have going on, is there a community that people can join for you right now? Do you have one of those built? Are you building one? Where are you guys at?
Yes, I'm building one. My community is called can't say it. I can't even say my own community. It's Podcast Freedom, and I'm building it on school. So it's a shell there right now till we open everything up, which is happening very soon. I'm in the process of recording a lot of the content right now, but it's there, and it is a paid community because, of course, it also leads to monetization, and that's where I teach my frameworks and show them the blueprint for aligning their podcast and getting those through lines between what they're selling and what they're doing. And the cool thing about even like the membership and the subscription model with podcasting, the subscription model could be something simple as an ad-free feed or a Patreon, right? Where people are getting something. I mean, it doesn't have to be like, oh, now I've got to build out another community on school just because Christy does it or Sammy decides to do it. That's not, but there's a lot of different ways where you could have members only events that you do where you invite them onto the live podcast where they can watch the podcast live and ask questions or whatever. So there's a lot of options we have to create something of value for just our best people that want to pay to be in that community. And so, so that's
awesome. So we want to know about that. You're going to have a Filipino in that community. So that'll be awesome.
Good. Well, I will let you know as soon as it's open, and I'll send you the links for that kind of stuff too. So
that's amazing.
Very close.
Thank you for the entire amount of knowledge bombs that you have dropped on us today. It has been an absolute pleasure to be able to just sit and listen to your wisdom. I mean, from 2011 to 2024 is 13 years of incredible knowledge. And I know that the hockey stick growth for what you're doing and how much you've helped people is just immeasurable. It's crazy to see how many people you reach. Like, I think of like, even with like a Cynthia Thurlow or somebody. There's millions of people that you reach. And that's because like multiple millions, 10, 20 million people. Because of a show you've produced. And it's just like, it's like that. And so I was going to ask, do you have a network of shows that people can go and listen to that you've all produced? Do you have that anywhere? Or
I've thought about 100 times doing a network for my podcast production company, and I should have, but the thing that's always held me back is because our shows are so diverse, right? We have a lot of doctor shows, we have a lot of mommy shows, we have a lot of lawyer, dentist, whatever you want to call it. But many times, like the whole purpose of bringing people into shows and into network or shows into your network is to get advertising for them. So when you can get one advertiser that goes across the whole thing, and I should have been doing that. I should have built that out. Now, other people have done that, and so I don't feel the need. So what I do is I become a pipeline for those that I know so I can point them to the specific network that they do. On our website, which is teampodcast.com, we try to keep it updated but sometimes we add so many new podcasts, it's not completely updated, but we do have listing there of all the podcasts that we have worked on and are currently working with. And it's a good many of them. It's probably close to 70 or so now. But it's such a privilege to be able to play, like when you see the role that you're playing in these people's success, and many of them start that podcast with that other goal in mind of like, I want to not do so much one-to-one private practice, or I want to not do so many one-on-one client stuff. I want to do more one-to-many. Then you see that coming to fruition and they're like, I was able to close my practice and now I can all do online and I'm location independent and I'm time freedom and I'm all this stuff. It's like, oh, that's what I'm doing this for, because I know so many people, especially in the medical, functional medicine, health, wellness, like these people have paid their dues. They worked crap shifts at the hospitals. They've done their residencies and they burned out. And by God, if they weren't that way before, COVID killed it for them. When they're just like or our healthcare system that's so messed up is like, they're like, I can't do this anymore because we're not trying to really heal people. We're just trying to, fix them after we broke them, kind of thing. So I think like helping them achieve their dreams is what's so exciting for me.
That's so great. Yeah. And I know that you've helped them get there. So kudos to you and congratulations on the extreme success of all that you've done, Christy. Thank you so much for being here. And
I appreciate it, Sammy. It's always good to talk to you. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I'm new to the game and I'm loving, like, I got thrust into this world in a beautiful way. And I'm like, I can't thank you enough for just being such a strong support, always jumping on a call to help me out. And you do that with all your clients and everybody. And you said something to me when we first started, and I think it's a great thing to end on. I was like, I just want to know if it's cool if I ask you these questions. And you said, are you kidding? there's so much beautiful space, and we're here to all help each other. Who am I to just keep this information to myself?
Absolutely. We have to, that's the thing, we have to share. And the other part is, Sammy, I feel like we have when we have a shared value about like sort of a monetization forward value, and the rest of the market is like shameful monetization, like we've got to stand up and be louder than them. You know what I mean? Or we lose a whole generation of people that would have come to this industry that could have made it, but we weren't loud enough. And so we have to take that seriously. So the more you and I and other people that are collaborative rather than competitive can join forces and say, no, we're one of the people that say monetization first, ROI first. It's a value exchange. You have a moral imperative to monetize, the better off we're going to be. And we can pipe down some of those other voices that are pod-splaining us.
I love that. That's ended on that one, Christy.
Yeah.
So much love to you.
I'm
God
going to make
bless.
some t-shirts. Be like, don't pod-splain me, bro. You know?
Stop pod-splaining.
That's it. No pod-splaining.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you for being here. All the good stuff's in the notes, guys.
Welcome.
You know where to find them. We'll talk to you soon, Christy. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much, Sammy. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now that was a great episode. Thanks for joining us and tuning in to the Healthy Profits Podcast.
Sammy and I are here to help you turn your health podcast into a treasure trove of opportunity for your listeners and your business. So join us twice a week as we unleash our favorite tips and strategies that have helped our clients at Evolve Podcasting turn their show into a thriving part of their business.
And make sure you subscribe and listen in as each episode builds upon each other. And I know that you're a generous leader, so make sure you share this podcast with your fellow wellness entrepreneurs so we can all grow together.
Until next time, stay healthy and keep thriving.
Bye.
Bye.